Who is Joao Mario that Juventus have just signed from Porto? Well, they've swapped Alberto Costa for. Look, I think we can all agree the context behind this deal, not many of us agree with it, but at the end of the day, we have to sit down and talk about Joao Mario. What can he bring to Tudor? What can he bring to Juventus? What you as Juventus fans can expect? And for the first time in my player analysis, what you should definitely keep an eye out for. Now, when it comes to my player analysis, I always try to be as fair as possible with you guys. And there's a reason why I've taken one day to make this video. I'm not too familiar with him. I've gone back and put myself through 4 games of Porto, 2 games against Roma in the Europa League, 1 game against Sporting Lisbon, 1 game against Benfica. I feel like you make a fair judgment when watching a player against the best teams in their league or some of the best teams that they come across throughout the season. It wouldn't really be fair if I was sat judging him against games like Casapia or Boa Vista. No, I have to watch him against the best, and that's where I can sit down and judge. This video, I will have 2 good things and 2 bad things. And at the end of the day, you guys are old enough. You guys are old enough to make up your own minds. Now, before everything, if you're new, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe. Always engage in the comments. Let's get into it. Okay. The way we will break down this video is 1 good thing, 1 bad thing. 1 good thing, 1 bad thing. But before I start, I just feel like I have to get this off my chest because I've been seeing it all over social media. Please, when you're trying to compare Joao Mario and Alberto Costa, stay away from FBref, stay away from DataMB. Don't get me wrong, they paint you an amazing picture of a player as a whole, but I feel like it's a very unfair comparison. When you bear in mind, FBref, DataMB, they mainly focus on League and Champions League performances. So practically, Alberto Costa's only got himself 3 Serie A games, and you're now sat comparing him to a guy that's got over 30 games this season for Porto. Very unfair comparison, and I feel like it definitely paints a different picture of the 2 players. But I just feel like I had to get that off my chest. Strength number 1 for somebody like Joao Mario, he's a very good crosser of the ball. Now, I've come to that conclusion not from watching his comps, not from watching his goal contribution highlights. No, because the 4 games that I watched, he didn't get a single goal contribution. But what I liked of him was there's variety behind his crosses. And I feel like that's something that we can't say about many players. Like a lot of players, they just want to put their foot through the ball and just hope and pray that there's somebody there. When in reality, maybe you shouldn't put your foot through the ball. Maybe you should cut it back. Maybe don't put your foot through the ball. If anything, drive it low across the box. With Joao Mario, from what I've seen, when he gets into the final third, 7, 8 times out of 10, he makes the right decision in terms of choosing which type of cross to execute. And for me, that could be the difference between a goal and no goal. And I've seen it so many times last season at Juventus where they get the ball into dangerous areas. But what's missing? That final pass. And it's not because these Juventus players have not spotted the pass. No, they've just not known how to execute it. Maybe it's best to go low and hard across the box. But Juventus have lofted it all the way to the back post. Do you see what I mean? Like these small margins can decide games. I feel like in the final third, he definitely shines more. And it's probably because he is a right winger by trade. In the final third, he feels a bit more comfortable. That's the territory, that's the zone of the pitch where he is most comfortable, that he's most familiar with. He's a right winger by trade. When it comes to crossing, I like the fact that there's variety behind it. Now, that's 1 good. The 1 bad is I want to compare him to a player, and I feel like it might paint a better picture for you guys. From what I saw of those 4 games, he's very similar to Kyle Walker. Now, yes, in so many people's eyes, Kyle Walker is one of the best fullbacks in Premier League history. For me, I've never ever really been a fan of Kyle Walker. Now, let me break it down as to why. Kyle Walker, for me, as a defender, I don't think he's a good defender. But I feel like as a right back, he offers a lot in the final third. But defensively, he relies a lot on his recovery pace. So many times Kyle Walker has gotten himself out of trouble by being in the wrong place at the wrong time, not assessing the game well, not reading the game well. But the one part of Kyle Walker where he was most gifted is the fact that he can be in the wrong place at the wrong time. But he was one of the fastest fullbacks we've ever seen. He's got that recovery pace to get back and put out a fire which he caused. Do you know what I mean? Like there's some players where they cause the fire, but they've got the tools to go out and put it out. Kyle Walker, for me, was always a defender that relied on his physicality more than his reading of the game. And I feel like that's why, as he got older, like it's all beginning to make sense. As he got older and his pace began to decline, nobody wants him. He's at Burnley, bro. And like we all saw what he done at Milan last season. He wasn't good. A player that relies on his physicality rather than his reading of the game. Joao Mario, for me, defensively, is a replica to that. He's got the physicality. He's got the eagerness to get forward. But I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. And I feel like these 4 games that I spent yesterday watching tell me enough about him defensively. There will be times where he is in the wrong place at the wrong time, but he's got the pace to get back. And then you see like this last ditch crunching slide tackle and everybody loves it. But in reality, you're resorting to the slide tackle because it's the only way for you to put out this fire that you cause. Like, there's a reason why they call it last ditch slide tackle. With him, he relies a lot on his physicality to get him out of trouble defensively. The reason why I worry for this is because you're going to come up against teams, against opposition where, 1, you might not get back in time. You've caused yourself a big problem. 2, if Juventus were to sit back in their defensive shape, if you sit back and you're compact, there now isn't any space for you to utilize your physicality. Now you need to focus on your reading of the game. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. Like, I would genuinely love to sit down and tell you guys to expect wonders from him defensively. I was not impressed. In particular, the 2 games that I saw against Roma, against Claudio Ranieri's Roma, Angelino had serious fun against him. And as wild as this may sound, I don't even rate Angelino. I don't think Angelino is anything special, okay? Angelino had serious fun against him, and it was always drag him in, ball over the top, he's in no man's land. And the problem is, when you're a fullback that relies on your physicality and you're coming up against a winger that's also physical or a fullback that's also physical, it now becomes a 1v1 foot race. And I just don't like defenders that rely on their physicality to get themselves out of trouble. I more prefer reading of the game. And that's why I always say, like, some of the best defenders that we've ever seen, they were slow. Like, they weren't fast, but they're reading of the game. They were always in the right place at the right time. They assessed situations. They just knew how to put out fire before it even materialized into something. Joao Mario, for me, he's a fullback, a wing back that relies a lot on his physicality to defend. Once you match him up for that physicality, you are in trouble. I feel like his man-to-man marking isn't the best. I feel like at the back post, he loses his runner. I feel like even when in a defensive shape, he doesn't have the awareness to spot oncoming runners, whether it's decoy runs. I wasn't really too impressed with him defensively. Okay, so now we're back to round 2. 1 good, 1 bad. The second good is, and you've probably touched onto it based on his first negative, he's fast. Now, that speed helps him out defensively, but there's limitations to it. But in the final third, speed can kill, like, especially if you're fast, especially if you're a willing runner. Like, you can abuse opposition players with your speed. And I feel like even if Juventus were to come up against a low block, technically he's secure. Like, he does come across like a ball retainer. He does come across like a bit of a smart player in the final third, where he doesn't always cross, he doesn't always shoot. He's more of a give and goer. And this is why, or the title is give and go, but this is why mainly I look at him and Conceição and say, maybe this was the vision behind the signing. Because when I look at Juventus' right-hand side now heading into the Serie A campaign, I see Conceição mainly deployed as this roaming number 10 on the right-hand side. And then I see somebody like Joao Mario being the wing-back. Where it would make sense is because it's very similar to like when I break down the split striker system. When we're talking about 2 players on the right-hand side, you need them to be very different to one another. Conceição is more, give me the ball, let me carry it. Let me hurdle past these challenges. Joao Mario is more, no. Put the ball into the channels, I will chase after it. Give me the ball into the space, I will run onto it. I am the outlet. So I feel like it makes a lot of sense when you bear in mind Conceição more ball to feet, Joao Mario more outlet, let me run in behind. And I feel like it would definitely help somebody like Conceição, because the fact that now Joao Mario is going to be a consistent runner in behind, he's going to be dragging opposition players with him, which then creates more space for somebody like Conceição. It's a positive, but I can't turn around and tell you guys it's an upgrade, because Alberto Costa was also doing that. But that is definitely a strength. And maybe Juventus are looking at it like Conceição, Joao Mario, they've worked together, they've got chemistry, they've played with one another. Maybe that could allow both of them to like blossom in a Juventus shirt. Like, you know what I mean? That's definitely his second strength, where he is a willing runner. He's willing to be the outlet, to stretch the pitch, to drag opposition players with him. Now, the second weakness is, I just feel like as much as he's gifted physically in terms of running power, I feel like he isn't gifted in terms of sheer upper body strength. I think he's very, very, very weak. And I'll be honest with you guys, defensively, he is going to be tested a lot. Like, I look at it and I tell myself, if you come up against a winger or you come up against a wing back or, I don't know, a striker that's drifted out wide, if you can match him up for speed, what can you out-edge him on? So both of you now, speed for speed, you're neck and neck. Can you out-edge him physically by being stronger? I don't think so. Like, I genuinely feel like physically he gets ragdolled. Okay, so you can't do it like that. Can you out-edge him with your defensive ability? No. Can you out-edge him with your reading of the game? No. And I'll be honest with you guys, like from the games that I saw, he always had good moments in the final third. But defensively, he genuinely looked like a massive weak link. And I'll be honest with you guys, like I sympathize with him. I always sympathize with players where they're now being forced to play in a position where it's not their natural trade. He is a right winger by trade. And I feel like so many times you see players develop, like they go from right wingers into wing backs into fullbacks, or you see fullbacks go on to become wingers. I feel like the transition of going from a fullback into a winger is far easier than going from a winger into a fullback. Like, for example, somebody like Gareth Bale, fair enough, some might say a generational talent, but the fact that he went from a left back into one of the best left wingers that we've ever seen, I feel like that transition is far easier than, for example, being a dynamic winger and you're now being told, yeah, you need to trim down 50% of what you can do and learn to master the game defensively. I feel like it's very difficult, and that's why I always like turn around and say to you guys, I feel like sometimes IQ, you can't really develop it over the years. Learning how to become a good defender, you can't really develop it over the years, especially if your mind is programmed into attacking non-stop. And that's why I sympathize with him, and I sympathize with any player which is a winger that's now being forced to play as a fullback, because you're now taking away 50% of their game and you're forcing them to learn 50% of one of the most difficult positions to play, being in the right place at the right time, sniffing opportunities, having that anticipation, tracking oncoming runners, especially nowadays with all the overloads and everything. Like, defending is a very difficult thing to do. And I'll be honest with you guys, like, defensively, I'm not impressed with him. Physically, I'm not impressed with him. Mentally, I'm not impressed with his reading of the game. As a wing back, he will shine in the final third, but I feel like defensively, he will definitely be tested, and I wouldn't be surprised if Juventus concede a lot of goals down that side. But listen, as long as they can make it up on the other end of the pitch, happy days. Now, this is just me being completely honest with you guys. If you're new, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on another one.